Hello all of you beautiful people, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and if there's a selection of words that puts more shivers in my spine than having bone marrow made from absolute creepy clowns, it's the phrase video game movie tie-in. Seriously, we've had so many bad games that have tried to cash in on their silver screen success, and one need only look no further than E.T. on the Atari as an example of how badly this can turn out for both publisher and consumer. However, there are some shining gems out there that seek to put things right. Games like The Warriors or GoldenEye on the N64. Yet, the games on this list are kind of neither, as whether they're good or not pales in comparison to how weird it is that they even exist. Yes, that's right, the games on this list transcend matters of taste and enter into the realm of curio, because today we're looking at the titles that weren't condemned to the bargain bin as much as they were hidden in vaults deep underground from the public. I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 obscure video game movie tie-ins you had no idea existed. Number 10, Ju-On the Grudge. It might seem weird, but believe it or not, the Grudge or Ju-On franchise has had tons of films come out, nearly 10 in fact, and therefore of course the hands that be began rubbing together with the thought of that lucrative video game cash. Now in fairness, the concept is great for a video game with a supernatural force that can stalk you anywhere, jump scares aplenty, and creepy kids. It's a veritable tick box of trouser browning. Therefore, in 2009, in order to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the series, Ju-On, a fright simulator, was released for the Wii. Seriously, that was its name here in Europe. Absolute ballbag. Now, to be fair, the game itself did have some scary moments, but nothing was actually more frightening than the rate with which your batteries drained. Seriously, I think your flashlight has got a drinking problem or something. Plus, as you might expect with any motion control game, there was often more comedy to be found watching the flailing of others than the actual on-screen scares. Still though, as an easily disposable experience, you could do a lot worse than this. Number 9, Beverly Hills Cop. The Beverly Hills Cop game was developed by a company called Blast Entertainment, who specialized in acquiring famous licenses such as Home Alone and Little Britain and making... Well, I mean, you can see the footage of Little Britain here. Can you even call this a game? I'm pretty sure this is the same stuff they show people to make them confess to crimes. However, this didn't stop the devs, who released Beverly Hills Cop in 2006 for the PS2 to approximately zero fanfare. For Christ's sake, they didn't even get the license to the theme tune, and since when was Eddie Murphy just some bald dude? Did they even model this after a human? As you can imagine, for a game that had programming code akin to vomit and AI that was so stupid that it actively set us back as a race, this was more than a bit of a Beverly Hills flop. Number 8, Virus It Is Aware. Now, odds are you probably don't recall Virus, a 1998 horror flick with Jamie Lee Curtis. It was based on a cult comic about an alien virus that turns people and machines into murderous creatures. If that sounds like fun, well, I'm afraid that it wasn't, as there's little to love because this turgid mess goes down as one of Curtis's worst movies ever, and let's not forget that she made Beverly Hills Chihuahua. But the movie was a big budget deal, so of course they tried to cash in with a tie-in game. However, this title was more rushed than your mother's attempts at foreplay, so keen is she to receive my little meat devil. Seriously, love, let me finish my Big Mac first, and then we can get down to business, and also, that is my one per list. To say this game was half-baked is an insult to potatoes, yet this game sure did run like one with terrible graphics and a wonky control scheme. Bizarrely though, even in its unpolished and buggy state, you'll find people arguing that the game is actually better than the film, which again gives you an indication of what you're working with here. Number 7, Outlander, but secretly Mad Max. While not officially a Mad Max game, since the developer lost the rights to use the license just before the game was published, Outlander is in every other way a Mad Max game, and a surprisingly decent one too. The game is split into two sections. One has you driving a souped-up car driving through the post-apocalyptic desert where you blast raiders with a shotgun or rockets or whatever mounted to a car. The other part is a side-scrolling adventure where you get to get out of the car and look for ammo, food and fuel while fighting off angry wasteland dwellers. It's not groundbreaking by any means, but it's clearly been made with some love, and it's arguably one of the better interpretations of Mad Max. Just don't go shouting about it too much, as Warner Brothers will likely come a-knocking. Number 6, The Fifth Element. Okay, so hands up, The Fifth Element to me is just one of those films that I can watch at any time, whatever my mood. I have no idea why. Maybe it's Chris Tucker's annoying presence, maybe it's the multi-pass scene, maybe it's just that Bruce Willis plays a completely straight-faced role in an entirely silly film. But whatever the reason, I think it's great. And I was surprised and keen to learn that there was a game made of the film, but then I played it. Oh me, oh my, I want to goddamn die. This tie-in covered the entire world in a thick fog because I guess Silent Hill tried to make graphical limitations spooky with its use, but here it was just bloody awful. Oh well, at least it hides how particularly ugly this game is. Aiming your gun in this game is quite possibly the most obtuse thing I've ever done. It would be easier to eat soup with boxing gloves on than play this. However, this is completely overshadowed by one pretty huge factor: that the game was released a full year after the movie. This is a tie-in in as much the same way as Josh's scripts are funny. Barely. Number 5, From Dusk Till Dawn. If you're a huge fan of From Dusk Till Dawn, then you're probably suddenly very excited to learn that there's a video game for you to munch down on. But just hold up a second, as this game was actually made by the people behind Virus, It Is Aware, that we covered earlier, so yeah, just take that with a pinch of salt. The game follows Seth Gecko trying to escape from a prison ship where a group of nasty vampires has come to seek revenge on him. It's very stock in its action, and while never truly being offensively bad, fails to leave any sort of impact. It's one of those games that's just so hard to critique, as it's like a big bowl of bland soup. I mean, technically it's fine, but just lacking anything interesting. Also, it's not been made clear if the story is canon or not, but the fact that Tarantino wasn't involved kind of suggests that it's not. Number 4, White Men Can't Jump. Now, some movies are easier to translate to games than others. Aliens, for example, is easy, seeing as we've got like 1,000 games based on it. Others, like, I don't know, Sophie's Choice, probably not so much. So when White Men Can't Jump decided to get itself a game, you can see why it falls kind of in the middle ground, as technically it's just a simple basketball game that you need to make. But in reality, if it's to be based on the film, it needs to be about male friendships, relationships, respect, and ego. It's a shame then that we didn't get that, and an even bigger one that the game was released on the Atari Jaguar, ill-fated. Oh, it was, and an even bigger one when it came out 3 years after the film. Oh dear. However, if you do press on and ignore all the warning signs, you'll be presented with, well, I don't know, what is this, a seizure? Seriously, this is like an assault on the senses with a control system that's about as easy to get to grips with as a greased pig. Hard pass. Number 3, Land of the Dead, Road to Fiddler's Green. If you know the name George A. Romero, then it's likely because of his absolute masterpiece that is Night of the Living Dead. After his original trilogy of films, Romero took a big long break from the genre, but returned in 2005 to help with Land of the Dead, which was, well, it was just okay. However, it was a damn sight better than The Road to Fiddler's Green, which sounds like the worst sexual metaphor that I've ever heard, and I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't come up with myself, as it was a game that was meant to be a tie-in prequel, but ended up being a lukewarm nibble rather than a deep, infected love bite. Now, despite having some interesting ideas in it, like a level set in a cornfield where visibility is poor and zombies are crawling everywhere, Road to Fiddler's Green was horribly dated by its graphics and awful hit detection. Plus, the audio sounds like it was recorded inside a metal bin, with a metal bin, by a metal bin. Awful. Number 2, WARPATH Jurassic Park. Now we're talking, right? A fighting game with dinosaurs from the Jurassic Park franchise, like Tekken with dinosaurs. How could this be a bad thing? Well, surprise, it was pretty bad because it was just a bit broken and had really sluggish controls. Still though, that doesn't take away from what makes this game truly special, the fact that it was utterly hilarious. I mean, case in point, when's the last time that you saw a T-Rex and a raptor that were the same height? Well, that's just because the game couldn't figure out how to program bigger monsters versus smaller ones. It's hilarious in practice, and while it was nowhere close to being a rival to the likes of Tekken or Street Fighter, it's a fighting game with dinosaurs. I'm sorry, I simply can't be too harsh on this game as a result. It's like going against my DNA. And number 1, The Ring, Terror's Realm. We end with a rather odd video game, in that The Ring on paper could make for a pretty interesting video game. I mean, think about it. You could have 7 days to prepare your character for the end, gather supplies, call in help, and maybe even try to pass on the curse. In that one sentence, I've made a better game than Terror's Realm ever was. Not that the title didn't have ambition, as this Dreamcast game tried to delve into the scientific mumbo-jumbo that was in the background of the film and much more present in the novels. Now, Terror's Realm follows the lead character character as she investigates the death of her boyfriend, which is linked to the mysterious computer program called Ring. What follows is a depressingly mediocre survival horror game where the player wanders around a large building shooting monsters and trying to figure out where the hell to go next, since the whole thing is so bloody dark and murky. The graphics are what you consider to be the offspring of a bad texture love affair, and the voice acting is on par with that of Resident Evil 1, but without any of the charm. Plus, the plot is baffling, with Sadako actually showing up as a final boss battle at the end, where you shoot her with a shotgun. How you go from this to this is almost mind-blowing. But there we go, it exists. And there we go, those were 10 obscure video game movie tie-ins that you had no idea existed. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. But before we go our separate ways, my friend, I just want to say, whatever you're getting up to today, whatever your walk of life, I hope you're having a good day, a good bloody time of it. And if you're not, if you're struggling with stuff, then remember, you can always ask for help. Trust me, man, people care so much more than you realize. I cannot express this enough, all right? And if you want to chat about this or anything else, then you can go follow me at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter. But until then, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye!